right, she's about ready. Jeez, there it is. Honest to goodness, there was not a cough for 40 minutes.
Holy shit, you're right.
Not a cough for 40 minutes.
It's like my nostril closed up and suddenly
you saw me hit that button, or you heard it.
And I'm just like gagging now.
You heard me hit the button. All right, here we go. We're going live. Going live in the studio. Waiting for that light to say it's doing this magic.
Hey, dentists are really afraid to give you oxycodone for pain medication.
They are?
Yeah. But they'll give you all the Tylenol 3s you can carry out of the place.
In the morning with Doug and John. Hey, we've been starting our live stream podcasts with that little jingle, and the fans have spoken.
They have.
They have put together some fan love mixes of our little business.
And so
this one's from Tim Lyles.
Check out this new intro.
I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Tim Lyles. Woo. In the morning. All right.
That'll set your pulse a-beating there.
I love it. Hey, good morning, John.
Good morning, Doug.
Boy, it's been a while since we've been together.
It seems so.
There's been so much that has gone on. Including you having oral surgery. Should we start out right there so people know the attitude and tone of the In the Morning show today?
Yeah, I'm a bit high on codeine right now, and I got to tell you, it really feels good.
So you asked about oxycodone, and they said no, thank you.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm smart enough to know that
you stayed away.
We know you just don't ask for it. You know.
Oh,
I mean, that's a red flag right away.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he went into this whole thing. He's like, yeah, Prince screwed it up for all of us.
That's
what he said.
The dentist,
yes,
your dentist, who will remain unspoken, suggested that the problem was that Prince OD'd, not that the pharmaceutical companies and doctors organizations have been conspiring to sell a disproportionate amount of...
Well, just maybe he meant like the Prince situation.
Oh,
maybe,
okay.
Not that, the man himself is,
I don't know.
A little responsible. But,
yeah. But that circumstance was the big lockdown, not the opioid and heroin crisis that has come from it.
Or maybe the focus is different on Minnesota doctors because of that situation.
But anyway, what did they do in your oral surgery? And when was this?
I just had this problem tooth, and so they had to take it out and prepare to have a implant put in there at a later time.
But they ripped a tooth out of your head.
Oh, it was I mean...
Were you conscious, or did they put you under with that?
No, yeah, I was totally conscious.
You were? So you heard it happening?
Yeah, I heard it happening. And they said, hey, you're doing so good. And I'm like, I'm zenning out, and the lady behind me goes, did he say gin? He's, he's on gin? And I'm like, I didn't know that was an option. I thought that was contraindicated.
So here's a person that works at a dental surgery office that brings up the fact that she can't understand a dental patient when they're laying there going, yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's impressive in its own right. Well, congratulations on having your teeth ripped out of your head.
Thank you.
And I didn't know that you and I shared that in common as 52-year-old men that have had we both had multiple teeth taken from our heads.
Well, I mean, I think it really has something to do with our demographic and economic situation.
Hey, that's the connecting point. People like us, when we were kids growing up, not in the wealthier sides of the economic systems.
That's right.
And maybe some diet, and maybe it's just something in the air. In 1966, maybe some Agent Orange hangover.
Right, there you go.
wouldn't look past it.
Let's blame that.
And I am, by Ancestry.com statistics, more English than 96% of people in England. So I am so English. I did a little spit in the tube, put it in the
Yeah.
mail. They came back and told me where my family was from. I mean, talk about that for magic.
Sure.
But they told me you're English as they come.
Exceedingly
So the
English.
fact that my crooked teeth and teeth are falling out just seems to be part of the broader family story. Did I ever tell you the story about when I had my tooth cut out? Did I ever tell you this one?
No.
So it was during a period of time when Shelley and I were really concerned about all kinds of what I would now consider to be more fringy natural health.
By the way, in the
conspiracies.
camera, I look like twice as big as you.
Oh, online, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
I think we're getting there.
You're right.
I think we're getting there. Yeah, hey, where's the weight room?
There we go.
It's over there.
I just wanted to point out that I'm closer than I appear due to the
Yeah.
camera.
Objects in the camera are closer than they appear.
Not because I
You haven't grown.
weigh a bit more than you do.
No.
Anyway, so you had
You
your
look like it in that one. But Shelley and I were, I don't know, I would now consider it to be a bit of the fringier side of the natural health world.
okay.
I don't think Shelley would concur with that, but that's how I would now put it. And we're very bothered, and I have this mercury phobia. I don't know if you know about this. Why I don't eat fish.
No.
That's why I don't eat fish. I'm terrified of mercury. Anyway, I had these root canals that had been done in my teeth, and they have those fillings,
Right.
the mercury fillings or whatever that was in those things from back in whenever I had these done in the 80s. And the
Before you were woke.
and the natural dentist that we went to when we lived in Texas. I do
Natural
think his
dentist.
name was actually Dr. Sprinkle, and I don't even think that. I think that's true. Dr.
Excellent.
Sprinkle. He really thought that it was important to have those teeth removed that had the root canals in them with those fillings, those
Really?
mercury fillings. So the whole point is that there was nothing wrong with my tooth; it was stable. But just having that in there, that world believes that it leaches something into your body and causes all kinds of issues. And we were waking up to natural health issues, and so we had dental insurance at the time, so we went in to have these teeth removed. Which, had I done a little more research, I probably would have said maybe there's a cost-benefit analysis you need to do about a potentially leaching tooth versus not having a tooth. But I was all nervous about the mercury stuff. So I'm laying in his office in the chair, all back, and he says, "Okay, we're gonna cut your tooth in half." I don't know how they did yours, but he said we're gonna cut the tooth, then I'm gonna lift the filling out, and then we're gonna remove the rest of the tooth. So I'm laying there on my back.
Like, they couldn't just change the filling to something else?
Right, they had to take it because it's a root canal, so it goes all the way down into the root.
Okay.
It was not just a topical
Sure.
filling. So he cuts my tooth, and I've got serious dental issues anyway, but I'm thinking this is better than the other haunting issues that He's got my tooth apart, and I can feel him starting to pry the filling, and I hear the filling kind of crack loose from the tooth.
Yeah.
And laying on my back, looking at the ceiling,
No
I
way.
see the filling
No way.
go up above my eyes and fall right down my throat.
What?
Right in the back of my throat. And I hear Dr. Sprinkle yell, "Don't swallow, don't swallow." And I'm like,
Oh my God.
and he says, "Well, we lost that one." So the very filling that I'm trying to get out of my tooth pops up, goes down my throat, and he says, "Well, you'll probably just pass that in a couple of days." Till this day, I swear that thing is lodged somewhere in there, and it's just leaching away. So now, not only do I not have these 3 teeth that he took out, lower level, my chompers, but somewhere I got some mercury lead filling.
Time bomb.
Yeah, just loaded up in there. Oh, and then we changed insurance, moved back to Minnesota, and this all counts in oral surgery standards as a pre-existing condition, not covered. So you got to pay for your own teeth to have new teeth put in, and it is like $14,000 a tooth.
Yeah.
To have teeth put back in. It's like. Apparently, this is the one thing that hasn't gotten any cheaper since the dawn of time.
No.
Was that they still going to charge you $14,000 to put a tooth in, and I'm missing 3 of them. So I'm like, well,
In this office, they had in the middle of the room, they had a glass box, and it had this like metal on the bottom, clear, like almost like a museum display case.
Yeah.
And inside of it, they had this machine, and it had like blue LED lights.
Yeah.
And in the middle, was and this thing, and it was carving a tooth.
Like, is it actually working for someone, or were they just doing this as a model?
No, it's a real thing. But like the thing is so expensive, it's like, yeah, we're going to show this off. It's got the blue LED. It looks like really space age. But
Are you going to have your teeth put back in?
I think I'm going to have braces, man. Yeah.
But you're going to put the tooth back in and then have braces?
No, they got to do it the other way around.
Straighten your teeth first.
Yeah. Right.
Do they know how old you are?
Yeah, it's on my chart.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing well.
I'm sure they're more than happy to.
I'm glad you survived
to
surgery.
take my ducats.
Yeah, I bet they are. I bet they are.
For this vein.
Well, I'm just telling you,
this vein man.
Check with these dentists before they tell you to take your teeth out.
Holy smokes, that's hilarious, Doug.
They got a. I think yours too. I mean, I don't want to project my crisis into your situation, but
yeah.
I know it's a little late now for second opinion.
Thank you very much.
You've got your tooth packed and your codeine rolling.
Well, there's an upside to everything.
Hey, lots been going on this week.
Tell me about your week, Doug. I think it began with a mass incarceration.
Well, it actually, since we were last together, a number of things have gone on. And last Sunday night started for me a really significant week. I went up to North Minneapolis for the street protest and vigil for Thurman Blevins, who was shot and killed by the Minneapolis police on Saturday afternoon. And boy, that was a moving thing being out there on the street. A number of people from the North Minneapolis community were there, and a number of black leaders said things I found to just be amazing. I was sort of live Instagramming some of their comments. And it was and maybe it's because I'm a little more attuned and sensitive to this right now, but it was so poignant at what a different lived experience it is and these tended to be old people about my age, black leaders who are just like, look, my entire life, this is the thing I've been afraid of, and it happens. And these things that you all, because there are a lot of white people around, that you all recognize and understand as a once a year kind of occurrence here in Minneapolis, we experience as a daily fear. And we're tired of coming out to these things, and we're sick and tired of having to stand here, and we're sick and tired of the police doing these things. And what was the part that was, I mean, the comments were very moving and very powerful. The thing that wasn't good that happened at that event was that the new mayor, Mayor Fry, a young mayor in age, young in his level of experience, white guy, was there. And one of the presenters, they sort of had an open mic with a bullhorn in the crowd, right? So anybody could sort of step up, and some people did a fantastic job kind of moderating it. But one guy said, the police are saying that he had a gun. We think he didn't have a gun, this thing. And then the person said, and Mayor Fry says he has a gun. And we say, no, he didn't, and you don't know that. And the crowd kind of turns toward Mayor Fry. Just about that point, he's got some security sort of around him. And they start talking to him, kind of whispering, and then he decides to leave. So he's walking off, and now the crowd's getting more and more agitated, and it's almost like they're chasing him away. Now, they're not doing anything that I think deserve for him to leave. He's just choosing to leave at that point. So there he is walking away from this. This is the first police shooting in North Minneapolis in his mayorship.
Right.
And when things get tough, he left. It was really striking to me. And I just thought, no, I'm not the mayor and I'm not a candidate, but someday, from my lips to God's ear, you stay, in my opinion, you stay on that corner and you sweep up at the end of the night.
Yeah.
You don't leave as the new mayor. And if you think that you're somehow at risk or in danger, then even more do you need to stay.
Yeah, like if his security people said, hey, we need to go, he should have said, no, we need to
stay, and we need to make sure that people don't feel like they have to be violent toward their mayor. It was just so stark, and it was.
Well, why would you attend something like that if you weren't prepared to, respond, to the public? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. And he was there longer than I was. He was there when I got there. So I don't know what happened before. But just from my optics, it was really bad.
Well, that's too bad.
And the whole situation is, as you know, it's just it's from how it combines gun violence, racism, police over policing in certain neighborhoods, police fear of certain citizens and persons in this country, and then the police discretion to shoot someone. They shot him in the back, from what I understand. I don't know if new information has come out, but that was the understanding at the time, and declared that he was dangerous because they said they believed he had a gun and was not following their orders, and apparently that makes someone a threat to police officers. I mean, the level at which the police are able to determine for themselves what it is that they believe puts them at risk and a threat, it's outrageous. It's outrageous. So these are long-term and systemic racist and over-policing and bias and poverty issues, and they just we have to double, triple, and quadruple down on dealing with these issues. It's just
well, and it doesn't
heartbroken.
It doesn't sound like the new mayor is prepared to take that on by his avoidance. Then what happened, Doug?
Well, then the next day, I flew to Washington, D.C. Monday to be part of an effort at the White House. Partly, I was there in my own capacity, but even more importantly, part of this effort called Vote Common Good, which is something that I'm engaging in. And Vote Common Good is an effort to try to dislodge control of Congress from the complicit Republican cabal that supports the Trumpist attitude. And we're traveling the country this fall, putting together a big tour. 48 congressional districts, meaning 48 cities, 25 states, 2 months, September 6th and November 6th. Wheels on the ground.
Are you renting a bus? Or
You're renting a bus, maybe some RVs. VoteCommonGood.com. You can find out all the information about this. Hope people do. We're going to lots of places. Some places we aren't going. The Northwest is not getting as much love from us as we'd like, and sort of the middle West. But we're kind of trying to hit everywhere else. But anyway, I went to Washington, D.C. because some of the co-conspirators in this effort, Vote Common Good effort we're putting together, asked religious leaders to come to the White House, stand out in front of the White House, and hold up signs that say we will not support separating families as religious leaders. And that would lead to arrest because there's one side of the sidewalk that you can have signs and do displays, or one side of the street on the sidewalk, and the other side of the street, which is on the White House side, you cannot do so. This is right off Lafayette Park, where right now there's a huge protest happening put on by MoveOn.org about separating families. So our event on Tuesday at the White House then was followed up on Thursday by hundreds of women at the Senate office being arrested and thousands of women gathering together. And today, MoveOn.org, and it's a part of all peoples of this country trying to get together and raise our voices, and those of us who can risk arrest, doing so to try to arrest the attention of people. So it was a great honor. I'm now getting used to this being arrested, and I kind of like it.
I was going to say, what was that experience like? Because I think, that would be, the foremost in most people's mind is like, what is it like to be?
Yeah, there's kind of two questions that come to mind.
I mean, now yours is kind of I don't mean this set up in a bad way, but it's it's a demonstration. It's not, it's not like how maybe someone would get arrested on the street or something.
It's not at all. And part of what I try to raise in people's awareness about people like me getting arrested in a protest, which has been established ahead of time. We notified the U.S. Park Police that this is happening in the Secret Service, so they knew, and I'll talk about that in a second if you want me to, but the difference between that and a police officer or arresting official determining you to be a threat, you experience the arresting system, the arrest system, really differently. Mm-hmm. And so the part of it that I think shows the inequity is that they have the capacity to treat people the way they treated us. So when they don't, they're not utilizing that capacity, and I think that's what's so heartbreaking about it.
Well, and plus, there's nothing scary about a bunch of
religious leaders with stoles on, and me with my blue hat. The rest
Well,
of
not Christian religious leaders.
yeah, Christian religious leaders. Yeah, but there should be, right? Like not to public well-being. There shouldn't be a fear, but there should be a fear to the political system. And that's what we're doing out there. So 2 questions people ask. Three. They ask a lot of questions. One question that I won't get into now, which is, why go through this little kabuki theater thing that you're doing? Okay, I won't get into that right now. It's part of a long civil disobedience tradition that I am new to and becoming very fond of here in the country. But the other question is, did you ever like what are the long-term consequences for getting arrested for something like this?
I thought it was, how was the food? But go ahead.
And then the other is, how are you treated? Those are the 2 questions that people always ask, from the food to the paddy wagon, which I think is a really terrible word. I think that's an Irish slur.
Oh, maybe.
The paddy wagon. Somebody should Google that right now. I think paddy wagon might have to do with like the Irish police in Boston or something. I think it's one of those phrases that we've incorporated in, but it has its roots in some sort of a ethnic or
maybe they were just so used to arresting like drunk Irish people, it became the paddy wagon.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, so what's the long-term consequences?
None. In this case,
this is not going to go down on your permanent record.
In this case, it's a citation. It's not a criminal act. When I got arrested at the Supreme Court, that was a misdemeanor that'll stay on my record. That could probably keep me from entering Canada, actually, that one. But the one I did a few months ago or a month ago, and then the one that, this last week, these are like an ordinance violation that you pay a fine to get out of. So there's different levels. And that's the other thing about how unfair and unjust and understandable is the judicial system. Depends on who arrests you for doing the very same activity. When I held a sign at the Supreme Court, I went to jail overnight, had a federal court case, and have something permanently on my record. When I got arrested in Philadelphia for not holding a sign but for not moving, I was arrested for inconveniencing people, and then I was given a $50 fine. And this time I was arrested for incommoding, not accommodating.
Oh,
the opposite of accommodating. It's a chargeable offense. So, no long-term effects. They treated us with respect, but the whole system is brutal. Like it's when you try, it's like hitting someone softly with a bat. And the system of arrest and procurement of someone into custody does not have to be as dehumanizing as it is. So even though they treated us with as much respect as you can, the entire philosophy of the system is to break you down, dehumanize you, and cause as much discomfort as possible. And here's the problem with that. You are in this country presumed innocent until proven guilty by a court of law. You are not supposed to be punished at the discretion of an arresting officer. So our arresting protocols need to, in my view, they need to not have any kind of a punishment narrative in the act of arrest. But the police will tell you, you did something wrong, so tough luck if your hands hurt, if you're hungry, if you can't walk or get in the bus, do it anyway. The pain is what is the price you pay. But you're not the judge. You're the arresting officer. You should not be giving punishment for your discretion upon arresting. That needs to be adjudicated with me having my own rights defended by me or by a lawyer. We weren't even Mirandized. I have not one of these times been Mirandized. So if they're taking me into custody, they're not telling me my rights. The whole thing shines a light on how the judicial system's procurement of the accused, the arresting process, totally whacked. Totally and completely whacked. So if somebody cares about something kind of in the long term, that's a big part of it, because the fear that the police want to ensue in you or instill in you is just constant. They're just out there with their big boy pants on, acting all tough, and with their guns and their vests and their trucks. But they cleared out the whole area in front of the White House because they knew we were coming. They made all the other people just there getting their picture taken, and I'm sure some people were bothered because they wanted to just see the White House, and other people were like, "Hey, there's one of those protests happening," and they watched us be lined up and pulled up with armored vehicles and guys in SWAT outfits.
Now you're like part of the tourist industry.
Yeah, totally part of the tourist industry. So, yeah, but it's an honor to be part of it. Some really good friends of mine, people I respect a lot. So, anyway,
on behalf of the thousands of police officers who are doing their jobs, thank you very much, in spite of Doug's castigation.
I could not concur any less as I would, because they're on the front. They're on the front lines. It would be. Can I rant for another second about this? If you're
going to beat up on the cops more, Jesus.
If
I got to drive home from this place.
Because, well, this is the whole problem, is that people act like if we say anything, they're going to come and get us. That's not how America works. That's not America. You have the freedom of speech. Anyway.
Maybe you should read the news last 72 hours.
The police are the employees who are employing the very tactics. So they're on the most front edge. If any other employee in a business or an enterprise was acting in ways that was harming and damaging the population, we wouldn't say, well, but God bless the sales clerk that sold me that poison. God bless the contractor that built a house. I mean, he's just doing his job. They know more than
you've thought
anyone.
Of this counterpoint before, haven't you? I just stepped into that. You're like, okay, John's going to play devil's advocate and pat the cops on the back, and I'm going to come back with this singer.
And I'm going to come back with if anybody knows how bad it is, it's those cats. And they feel at risk, and they feel in jeopardy. So it's time to speak up. It's time to take your position as an officer more seriously and say, we're damaging people.
Yeah. All right, Doug.
Anywho, remember that phrase? Remember that phrase from the 80s?
Yeah.
Anywho.
Things just get worse from there, Doug.
Who says that? Nobody. Yeah. So, okay, that's my rant for the day. Well, can I say something about Donald Trump? Did you hear about the prankster they called the radio show yesterday?
Yeah.
How, I mean, I've been saying it for 16 months. It's a combination of stupidity, cruelty, hubris, and incompetence. And that is a four-piece quartet that is unbelievable. Just the incompetence from this week. I mean, last week it was they spelled separation wrong. Fair enough. And the week before that it was we didn't know we were going to separate kids from their families. Unbelievable, the damage that causes to these kids. This week, it includes him going to Wisconsin and saying, you know what, I won Wisconsin. There hasn't been a Republican president that's won Wisconsin since, whatever it was, Eisenhower.
That's what he said, yeah.
That's what he said. And then he said, even Ronald Reagan didn't win Wisconsin. Nope, that was Minnesota. People in Wisconsin, he's lying to people in Wisconsin about things people in Wisconsin did and didn't do, all to make himself look better. Like the whole reason for being wrong about that is not because that information's not available. It's because he only wants to hear the things he wants to hear. Incredible. And then apparently his staff did not know that it was a prank caller from a podcast, comedian podcast. Does that ring a bell? Mm-hmm. That spent a couple hours and called in and said, I want to talk to the president, and we represent this senator. And they said, the operator said, well, that's not the official number that we have on file to call back to the senator. And they said, oh, well, we're on vacation, so we're going to use my phone this time instead of his. Oh, okay. They put him through not only to the president. You know the story?
Yeah.
Not only to the president, but the president on Air Force One. That's an airtime call. That's way more expensive. Who's paying for that? I want to see the budget around your phoning from the air, Mr. President. I mean, it is incredible that they're criminals at one level. They're so incompetent. They're so full of hubris. Their willingness to be cruel and mean and biting is unbelievable. It's just a combination that is so unfitting.
And
he's unfit to be the president. Has anybody said that yet? He is simply unfit and needs to be impeached. Me and you, Tom Steyer. Me and you.
So
that was a fundraising pitch.
And that's the team, Doug, that is now leading the selection of the next Supreme Court Justice of the United States. And not only just this one, but there's no way.
You don't think Ruthie's going to make it?
She's not going to make it. It'll be just by the force of sheer will that she'll be able to make it another 3 years. So here's what's going to happen.
What's going to happen? Tell me the truth, John.
Well,
is it good news?
No, they're going to instill some 18-year-old a right wing justice to take Kennedy's place.
Yes.
And then they're going to put another one in when Ginsburg retires. And then for the rest of our lives, Doug,
Yes.
our government will be under the shadow of with Roberts and these two new people. This is exactly what I was talking about when I would ever talk about, why pick Hillary, third party candidates, Bernie Sanders. It's because of this.
Yes. That your sense of
Just one Supreme Court judge.
it's too many.
And now there's going to be three. That's going to be stacked by this fucking idiot.
Yep. No, I'm with you. It's the Republicans and the conservatives could rally around the Supreme Court as being something that would motivate them and keep them together. Mm-hmm. But other people just said, no, we think there's something more important. We think there's, and I don't want to critique them without them being here, but that whole notion that people were pushing for, that we just really don't want that person so bad, screw the consequences. Now here's what I hope. This is what I deeply hope.
Is this the silver lining?
It's just a hope. It's really more of a fantasy. This is my fantasy girl.
I was thinking life is just a fantasy from...
I was thinking, you're my fantasy girl.
Oh, God, I hate 38 Special.
What?
Absolute garbage.
How are we friends? Can you pull up some 38 Special right now and play it in the background?
F no.
You know what? I shouldn't care for them because it's just now dawning on me that that's a reference to Guns.
They have two drummers. And...
Who are they? Do you know their names?
No.
You know their
because the most basic drums in every song, and they have two drummers. Come on.
Here's my fantasy.
The hope. Yeah.
My hope. That anyone who would be in line to be a Supreme Court justice would take their role seriously. Granted that they come from they are recognized by politicians who come from a certain political perspective, but fundamentally they are taking an approach to the law to interpret the law. If what we're saying is the Supreme Court only has value based on which president nominated the justices, then we're fundamentally confusing the separation of powers from the executive branch of the president and Congress and the judicial branch, the top of which is the Supreme Court. We should be able to trust in this country, no matter who appointed you or what your background is or what group says we think that you represent our judicial approach. Fundamentally, they are not responding to any case based on what president nominated them or what majority was in the Senate when they were confirmed, but what is their obligation as a juror? That should be it, and we have to trust in that. If we have honestly gotten to the point where we believe that the justices are only making political determinations based on who nominated them, we are totally and completely outside of the imagination of this country. Now,
we're there, Doug.
Okay, here's where I'm now coming over to your side. So that's my dream. That's my fantasy. That's the thing I want more than anything to be true. But the fact that Neil Gorsuch apparently is still in conversation and communication with the White House freaks me out. And that apparently Anthony Kennedy was given assurances by the Trump team that this is a safe time for you to retire, that they're working in concert with the president after they've already been seated on the court.
Yeah.
Totally and completely inappropriate. And if that has been going on our entire period of time in this country, that there has been this back channel communication and promises being made between justices and presidents, we have been screwed from the very start in believing that this imagination was that we had three equal and distinct branches of government. We are not in a constitutional crisis. We are in a crisis of our founding documents.
Doug, you know what dark matter is?
What? No, because no one does, but
Okay.
I know it exists.
But they know it's there.
And they call it dark because they don't know what it is.
Whatever.
And that's super racist in and of itself. But anyway.
That's racist.
Well, the dark is unknown. Anyway, they could come up with a better term. Unknown matter. Let's call it unknown matter.
Look, just because your skin is black, you don't own the word black, okay?
All right.
Look.
But still, it's racist.
You're a racist. Okay, look, so there's this stuff in between the stuff, okay?
Yep.
And
we don't know what it is.
And it plays some sort of role of holding everything together.
Right.
It seems like in times past, in my entire awareness of government, there has been this stuff, this kind of morality, at its worst, or ethic at its best, that
Nice.
kind of holds people from the extremes.
Okay.
Kind of like something caught in super magnets,
Yeah, there's a structure in there somehow.
Right.
Oh, nice.
And whether that is like the consequences and repercussions of what the Congress and Senate would do towards the president, that kept that person in check, or the Supreme Court would vote no on something that would be questionable, bound by that dark matter of morality and an ethic for the common good. I think that's gone. That has somehow decayed because, obviously the things that this president has said and done, from the election to now, there's an acceptance to it. So to me, it's like all bets are off.
That's right. All bets are off. I think you're right. This is when I heard that Kennedy was meeting with the Kushners and getting assurances and working out when he would retire in concert with the White House, that Kennedy didn't say, no, this is a rogue presidency that is violating norms, attacking the judiciary, and a criminal enterprise, that he didn't think that and thought, no, I'm going to work out a deal, and maybe if they're going to give me some sort of hint, wink, nod that one of my former clerks might be the person, and then the seat will stay in my flow. And I think they're a reasonable president to work with. Unbelievable to me. I fundamentally believed that when these people became justices, they would rise above and they would say, we have an obligation to the citizenry of this country to fulfill our obligation as a separate and equal branch of government. And they're not doing it. And it seems like it is clear as can be that there is
Complicitousness.
And somebody told me the word yesterday because I've been saying
complicity?
it wrong. The complicity. There is complicity between the White House and the Supreme Court justices and nominees.
Hey, this is really interesting, but man, look at my hair on this side.
It looks great.
That was just a couple of whiffs of my finger, and I did that.
It really looks great. If you only listen to this on the podcast, you should really go find this on audio and see what stunning, attractive video looks like.
And isn't there some sort of rumor? No, I just read a couple of postings and I didn't research this out, but something about Kennedy's son and Russian loaning Trump $1 billion. Have you heard that?
No. Kennedy's son?
Yeah. All right. To the Googleverse.
It's distributed by the internet.
Yeah.
Tell us the story. It doesn't have to be right.
This is the story from the headline I saw.
Yeah.
That someone related to Kennedy is somehow connected with the Russians in financing.
Okay.
He is here it is. He is a head of the Deutsche Bank, or one of the, and then they, in turn, through the Russians or whatever, have loaned a large sum of money to
Trump.
To Trump.
Yeah, I think I've heard. I didn't know there was a Kennedy connected to it, but I from what I have heard from the reporters that refuse to tell us who tells them such things, that there's a direct line that's provable between the Trump enterprise, not his presidency, it's before his presidency, and Russians in financing for him, laundering their money and them lending him money, and them being the bank that he's utilizing. And this is why his tax returns haven't been opened up to the rest of us.
When we go this deep state, I always think of when I would like turn to, the Patriot or the far right radio, and I would listen, I'd be like, boy, that shit is crazy what they're talking.
Totally.
I'm thinking to myself,
I am that.
I am. Yeah. Anyway,
but this time it's actually true. Hey, but here's the hope. Here's the hope. People are standing up to Trump.
Fill me with hope, Doug.
Do you know who's standing up to Trump? This is going to blow your mind. The U.S. ambassador to Estonia resigned this week.
Well,
didn't know. I guess I should have assumed there was a U.S. ambassador to Estonia. Here's how the article reads. The U.S. ambassador to Estonia has resigned over frustrations with President Donald Trump's comments about the European Union and his treatment of Washington's European allies. In a private Facebook message, apparently to the reporter at the AP.
Oh, I was going to say to the president.
Jari
because
Tanner.
That's how we handle communications now.
But it was actually to a radio show DJ. He wrote, for the president to say that the EU was, quote, set up to take advantage of the United States to attack our piggy bank, close quote, or that, quote, NATO is as bad as NAFTA, close quote, is not only factually wrong, but proves to me that it's time to go. He gives up the plum ambassadorship to Estonia.
Man, they got some great beaches in Estonia.
Do they?
No, I think it's landlocked.
I don't know anything about Estonia.
Hey, no sense of shitting on Estonia, right?
Yeah,
but
I bet they have a great soccer team, though, football team. I bet somebody will be like, hey, you know, they're great in the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean that is. That just seems like a sensible thing. I mean, everything that ambassador or former ambassador said. You would think like this is ludicrous. These things. These comparisons, and maybe it is just all hubris, but in the world of diplomacy, you got to have some sort of direction.
A little bit of hope. Did you know that the state of Minnesota has a state-sponsored football soccer team?
I do. They have an amazing logo too.
Do they?
Uh-huh.
Do you know the name of the Minnesota team?
The Loons? Am I wrong?
I think you're wrong.
Oh,
that's the lottery.
The field hockey team?
No, that's the lottery. I think
is it something United? I don't know.
Yes, Minnesota United in the MLS. Well, there is a player for the MLS, apparently a good one, named Colin Martin.
Uh-huh.
You know Colin Martin? Plays for the Minnesota United in the MLS?
I have to say, no, we've never met.
Well, he came out as gay during Pride Month. And it's a big deal because when professional athletes break that wall of saying that gay people can be professional athletes and you've cheered for us all along, that's still a big deal. So I know it feels like a little bit of old news now that we've tended to accept gay people's marriage and accept them in other industries. It's still a really big deal in sports, even in the MLS. It's a sport. And it's a big deal that he's come out. So congratulations to him.
Yes. I mean, I think that, that probably has a lot to do just with the, obvious masculine centric nature of these sports.
Yes. Not so much soccer, but I know what you're saying. I'm just making a soccer joke.
Really?
No, I'm not. It's totally masculine. No, it's incredible. Their
I would not want
is,
to get in a fight with a soccer player.
No.
You could never run away from them.
No, they don't run you.
Well, they would just never stop.
Yes, that's right. They'd run around you,
and
about every 7 minutes they might kick you.
That's right.
Another soccer joke.
No, but I think that's really cool, and in a sport that is dominated by that's 100 times more popular overseas in Europe and in South America, and I mean all over the world.
Yes,
but then in a lot of cultures that are not that are even less open to homosexuality in sports. But I think that's great because it's newer in the United States, and
it's interesting that you say so because that news article that I got that information from was from Pink News out of the UK.
Oh, right on.
So maybe he's one of us. Maybe he's got his own teeth issues.
Oh, right. Hey, Doug. The max an ambassador makes is $187,000 a year. So being the ambassador of Estonia was probably on the low end of 124.
So the guy's like, "Hey, it's time for me to cash in. I'm going to now go work in the Estonian insider infrastructure using my ambassadorship."
So to a lot of people, $124,000 a year would be a lot.
It is a lot,
but not really.
No. Normally, people become ambassadors after they've reached a level of success, and this is what they can do because they're highly capable and competent and don't need the money. That's normally who an ambassador is.
Yeah, I guess you really wouldn't want someone who's like driven.
Yeah, like me and you. They're like, I got to have a job.
So hungry. Yeah.
Is that going to be an auto deposit then?
Estonia? Sure.
Does that include health care? Because I got a tooth thing. You kind of don't want that being your guy, because that's what we have as a president, is a guy that's dead broke and trying to beg for money from Deutsche Bank, which is why he's on Angela Merkel, by the way, because she's pressing hard on Deutsche Bank, and that's part of the reason that he's always fighting with Germany, is because he's trying to protect Deutsche Bank. Hey, did you hear the big news about Bitcoin?
No.
Collapsed.
Well, I mean, was it even solid ever?
Yes, for like 6 weeks. Here's the headline: Bitcoin bloodbath.
Ooh,
that's a great second word in a headline.
That's something. That's
Bitcoin
a journalist
bloodbath nears .com levels as many tokens go to zero.
What?
So, do you know what a token is in this world? It's the thing you own. You own.
Yeah, but it doesn't have like its value fluctuates?
Yes.
Okay.
Its value fluctuates like a stock would.
Mm-hmm.
And it's some of them have collapsed to zero. It's been 50% loss. I don't know how people are going to buy their marijuana. I worry. It's becoming legalized, but you still, in many places, can't use the federally backed systems, which is one of the great advantages of these cryptocurrencies. I just worry about the young kids. I mean, those vape pens have got to really be firing up right now with all the anxiety around my cryptocurrency collapsing. And I'm not making fun of the people who use it for real.
But I mean, doesn't this just verify that the shadiness of that currency, that again, like someone could unplug the server and everything goes to zero?
Well, to their point, we should have. I've got a couple of really good friends that are big into cryptos.
Oh my gosh!
And they're not.
I would rather listen to someone talk about CrossFit, which I love. I mean, seriously, I'm a big fan of CrossFit. I shouldn't have used that example. I don't know. Talking about being Anabaptist, Jesus Christ!
Okay, yeah.
Put it to bed.
Yeah, that. Yeah. Well, the cryptocurrency people will tell you, hey, our entire economy. It's not even based on a server being plugged in. It's based on the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. And that hangs in the balance of the Treasury Secretary, the President, and Congress. So you think that the cryptocurrencies are shaky? The federal government's U.S. federal dollar is not backed by anything other than the fact that people think, well, they're not going to screw this up. That's it. We left the gold standard. We left the silver standard. We've left all monetary policy in 1972. It's just based on the full faith of the federal government.
Like, hey, we're good for it. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're good for it.
Yeah.
It's just a big game. It's just a big Ponzi spread anyways, what these people would argue. So they just developed these so that there'd be an alternative narrative where you could actually point to the value rather than whatever a speculator tells you the value's worth. That's their argument.
Mm. See, I mean, that was like a boring last 5 seconds there.
Already,
I mean, I totally
yeah.
drifted off.
It was if I was talking about moving from ab work straight into shoulders
exactly
in one move.
I had an ad come up on my screen for a robot lawnmower, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, wait a minute. He's still talking about cryptocurrency.
I have one of those. Hey, here's something that'll catch your attention. First, it was KFC. Then it was In-N-Out Burger. Now Chick-fil-A. What do they have in common?
First it was KFC. Then it was In-N-Out Burger.
This is like a riddle. Then it was In-N-Out Burger. Now it's Chick-fil-A. What do they have in common? Restaurants had to close for at least part of a day or full days because
Someone throwing shit?
nope,
Oh.
they ran out of chicken.
What is going on?
Ran out of chicken. I had this happen to me about 6 years ago.
Someone
at
is
a-
funneling chicken out of
Yeah.
the industrial chicken complex. It happened over in England and shut down KFC like for a month.
For a month? Yeah. No, it's true. I was in a KFC, pulled up to it one time like 7 years ago. And they said, hey, thanks for coming. We're out of chicken. Would you like some sides? And the idea that Kentucky Fried Chicken, first of all, if they'd said, hey, we're no longer Kentucky and we now bake,
Yeah.
so we're not fried, those seemed like reasonable things I could hear.
All right, I'll
out
take
of
a bucket of that shit.
But when they said, we're out of chicken, would you like a biscuit or some coleslaw? I thought, how do you run out of chicken? Well, apparently it's the chicken industry is so complicated and suppliers run on such a tight time frame, which I guess is a good thing, keeps the chicken fresh. They can run into these systemic problems, and now it's happened to Chick-fil-A where they've had to close for multiple times a day.
You sure like there's not like this like chicken cabal, like like the Middle Eastern oil sheiks. They're just, we're just gonna bottleneck the flow a little bit to bump up those prices because it's the cheapest meat.
I think it's the beef and pork industries that got together and did something to drive the chickens out of business.
Really.
Don't you think? Isn't that where you'd put your finger, or would you put it on the fish industry or on the vegetable cats?
Boy, I don't know.
I don't know.
There's a lot of dark players there.
Hey, I've got. I'm going to give you a potpourri today when you're ready. I know you've got some pieces, but on what your self-improvement tips for this week will be. I'm going to give you 3 choices. So.
Oh, okay.
Really
All right, we'll have you give you the choices, then I'll do this bit, and then we'll have you deliver the goods.
Okay. So your 3 choices are: do you need 3 things in the morning to energize your day? Do you want to know how to stop taking things personally? Or do you want to know how to deal with passive-aggressive people in your life? Which one of those?
What is the 3 things that you need
to start your day?
to start your day?
Start your day.
How not to take things personally. And I don't like the way you looked at me when you said that.
Or how do you deal with passive-aggressive people in your life?
Boy, okay. So,
Wow.
listeners,
Yeah, onliners.
if you're out there, go ahead and shoot us a
comment.
a comment on some Facebook page somewhere.
Yeah.
And
By the way, did you share it onto the morning page?
and then Doug will.
What have you been doing over there? All right.
I'll
do it right now.
And then Doug will just read whatever he wants anyway.
No. I really will pick because I'm torn between 3 lovers on this one. I don't know which one I think is the one we should talk about.
Well, Doug, I thought maybe in this next little bit I'd just talk about this week in rock and roll history.
Would you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
Please, thank
All
you.
right. Hey, on June 23rd, 1979, Supertramp's album "Breakfast in America" rose to the top of the U.S. album charts on the strength of the 3 hit singles: "The Logical Song," "Goodbye Stranger," "Take the Long Way Home."
Ooh.
And the LP would win 2 Grammys and sell over 18 million albums worldwide.
I feel like I only know one of those songs. Take the long way home. Am I right on that? Is that the right song?
What?
You kind of went fast. I kind of lost it. Say it again. What were the albums?
The Logical Song.
How does that go?
When I was young, they taught me to be so logical.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
na, 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 na.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right. I'm not the lyrics.
Yeah. That's
Are you
okay.
kidding? That's like that's like one of the first odes to postmodernism, man.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
You know
Yeah, I'm
that, and
familiar
like
with
Tom Sawyer. Come on. Mm-hmm. And then "Goodbye, Stranger. It's been nice."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
great.
listen, that song. People be like, "Goodbye, Stranger." That sounds a little like but it's got this like guitar part. When he hits the wah pedal, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You're totally sold on that. And then "Take the Long Way Home."
Yeah.
Right.
Did I sing that right? Was that the right song?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you looked at me like I picked the wrong song, and I got a
Well,
little.
you
I got
said
a
like
little-
you only know one Supertramp song.
that's
I'm
right.
like,
Well, I will tell you by the titles, I did only recognize "Take the Long Way Home."
yeah, hey, it's really hard to get 3 hit songs, on an album, and like it's 1978.
Is it? Is it in '78? It was hard to get 3 hit songs. There's like whole albums that had 7, 8, 9 hit songs on them. But anyway,
I bet you can't name 3.
All from the 80s? I don't know that I could, but
All right. Hey, on this date, or on this week in 2010, 62-year-old Greg Allman underwent a successful liver transplant operation at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida. Allman had begun a series of treatments for hepatitis C.
that's not the one you want.
But chronic damage of his liver led doctors to recommend a transplant.
Wow.
Yeah.
I brought some almond joy, I bet.
Whoa. Yeah. Well, not anymore because he died in 2017.
He did?
Yeah.
And when was the surgery? In 2015?
2010.
Oh, so he got 7 years out of a liver transplant. I bet the person who
Well,
didn't
I
get
mean-
the liver transplant because he got it is really, his family is really disappointed.
Well, here's the thing. That's what happened in 2010. That doesn't mean he had another liver transplant in 2012. On and on and on. Hey, in June 23rd, 2016, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin won a copyright law that said that their hit song "Stairway to Heaven" was based upon a instrumental song by the band named Spirit, a song called Taurus. And let's see what you think. Here's a comparison.
Okay. I turned the volume down. Sorry. Okay.
We should be hearing things.
Really? Mm-hmm. Try it again. Oh.
What?
Oh.
What?
Give it a minute. Give it a minute. Give it a minute.
What?
There we go.
Sorry. Jeez. All right. This is Taurus by Spirit.
All right. So that's one of the sounds.
Right. And then here is 2 years later. This is Stairway to Heaven. So there's some, I mean,
I don't know.
It's,
If you were on that jury, what would you say?
No, I mean, the thing is, apparently, Led Zeppelin had played 2 live gigs with that band as part of some sort of festival.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so so the family was saying because the writer Randy Wolf or Randy California has since passed on, and but we're trying to get some money out of that. I think you'd be inspired, but that's the only part of the song. I mean, like. Talking Stairway to Heaven.
I know. And that's the thing. You're going to be like, hey, that was ours.
Right.
But that is a pretty iconic part of the song. Like, had that not been in there, I don't know. Well,
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine.
And there may be lots of
So what
other
happened what happened in the court case?
They said that Led Zeppelin did not
steal it.
Did not steal it, and so denied them the case. Hey, on June 24th. In 1977, in Madison, Wisconsin, 2 men were fighting in a parking lot when a Rolls Royce pulled up and a familiar figure jumped out of the car and said, "Hey, you two stop fighting. I'll take you on."
Yeah?
It was Elvis Presley.
Really?
Really. And it was witnessed by a police officer was that there. On June 26, 1971, Don McLean's 8-minute and 36-long epic American Pie was released on the air.
Yeah, there's a one-hit wonder.
Right, except now he's a wife beater.
Is he?
Yeah. On June 27, 2002, 57-year-old John Entwistle, the bassist for The Who, passed away in his sleep or something like that.
Yeah.
He was later found to have cocaine in his system. Don't know if it's related to his death. But Entwistle was one of the greatest bass players ever. But he doesn't get a lot of acclaim because when you're in a band with freaking Pete Townsend and
right.
Roger Daltrey and Keith Effin Moon, it's really hard to shine. But let's let John shine a little bit right now.
Oh.
Here's a bass line from John Entwistle from The Who, The Real Me.
Oh. Wow.
And it's like that through the entire song.
That's fair. Do you know what's ironic about that? I thought that was 38 Special.
How much self-control do you think I have, Doug? Good grief.
Oh, that is a great bass lick.
And then finally, on June 28th, 2015, another bass player died, and it was Chris Squire from the band Yes. Now, if you're familiar with Yes, I mean,
Yes.
you know the bass player is fantastic. But hey, there's this guy on the internet. If you Google Christian Hand dissects Yes,
Christian Hand
Yes,
dissects.
Yes.
Yeah, the band.
Yeah,
Yes.
just Google that. And this is a guy that will break down the music and have the different tracks and stuff.
Oh, my.
And so here is him doing just a little breakdown of Chris Squire doing Roundabout.
This is ridiculous.
Just the isolated bass. One take. No.
There's a hand, man. All of these are the same. It's not cut and pasted. It's playing that. And it's a dirty bass sound.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't sound that dirty in the song, does it?
That's incredible.
Chris Squire. Yeah.
What else is
fantastic.
incredible is that you know that exists on the internet. How did you find that? What are you doing with your days?
Yeah,
to get you that thing.
Yeah, you got to dig it up. It's a rabbit hole. So that's this week in rock history, Doug.
Thank you, John. It's my birthday week, It's going to be my birthday celebration, July 5.
You're going to have a party? You're going to be in
Thursday.
jail somewhere?
I don't know. I've made a big deal out of my birthday the last couple of years. I'm taking a break.
Oh, okay.
I'm not as glad to be alive this year.
Whoa.
Hey, Tracy is giving some suggestions on which tips.
Okay.
Do you want Tracy's suggestions?
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're already watching this on Facebook, go into the comments because Suzanne tells us some outstanding facts
About Estonia?
of Estonia. So fantastic.
I did Google it. There's a lot.
These people are great. I kind of feel like we should like get someone on the show from Estonia.
Sure.
They should become our thing. I'm not moving to Canada. I'm moving to Estonia, where
it's
ambassador
funny
had the
because
common sense.
Estonia borders Finland to the south, and you know me and Finns. Anyway, hopefully there was some rivalry there.
Really?
Yeah, they had a Viking tradition in Estonia.
Oh,
Yeah.
Estonia are Vikings. They're the Viking ilk.
Well, there's something.
Okay. All right. So
I saw
says
pictures of Viking shit.
She says, I vote that we deal with how to deal with passive aggressive people because, great rationale, I always take that stuff personally. So she's connected the two together. Are you good with that?
What does Tracy's last initial begin with?
G.
Okay. I have a friend who's named Tracy, and it's a he, so I just want to see if that was...
No, this is a woman, Tracy.
although I bet he probably would be commenting on other things that we spoke about.
All right. So,
Okay.
tip number one in dealing with passive aggressive people for your week, John.
Okay.
It's all to help you. This is you know these tips that I try to come up with are designed to help you, John, be the very best John you can be. How to be John squared.
And for our global listeners, passive aggressivity runs strongly in the Minnesota people.
Okay, so glad you brought that up, my friend, because one of the things that this article brings up about passive aggressive people is that these folks that we tend to call passive aggressive, they're not actually passive aggressive at all.
Oh.
They say step number one is make sure you're identifying properly what's happening to you, and to call it passive aggressive really mischaracterizes it.
Oh, so maybe we're hearing passive aggressively.
We are saying, oh, they're being passive aggressive. This article argues, no, they're doing something worse.
Oh, ha.
Covert aggression, not passive aggressive. Here's why. I won't read the whole article till you can find it on Ladders yourself. But in the DSM-4, which is the
Your news feed has just got to be...
professional, psychological, and psychiatric definitional.
Yeah, so how they diagnose and bill people.
So these people care a lot about words and about
Yeah.
the concepts, and they're careful to designate. So they say that passive aggressive in the DSM-4 is described as, quote, a pervasive pattern of negativistic attitudes and passive resistance to demands for adequate performance in social and occupational situations.
Wow. Say that one more time.
All right.
That's like hearing
It's DSM-4 language.
but still, no, that's like that's a pastor breaking something down. You're like, I need to hear
All
that
right,
again.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
I'm gonna buy
Let
the
me tell
tape.
you what the apostle was saying. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I when I first read it, I thought this sounds like spoken word poetry that is really saying something with every word, and I'm having a hard time following.
It's so literal.
Pervasive pattern of negativistic attitudes and passive resistance to demands for adequate performance in social and occupational situations. Then they go on to say, so true passive aggressiveness takes the form of non-compliance. But that's not really the kind of manipulation that people feel when they think someone's being passive-aggressive. They think when someone's being passive-aggressive, they're trying to get you to do something you don't want to do.
Right.
True passive-aggressiveness is someone saying, this is how I'm going to shape-shift to get out of conforming, not how I'm going to drag you into conforming.
Okay.
So what might be happening to you if you feel this pressure, John, of passive-aggressive behavior is that somebody is trying to get you to do something you don't want to do.
Oh, boy.
Does this sound familiar?
Well, no, but
Does it sound like our show?
I'm saying, like, boy, an Enneagram for an Enneagram 7, that is really offensive.
They got their hooks in you. and
Because
they're
we
just-
don't want to do anything we don't want to do.
And they're working covertly in covert aggression, non-obvious aggression, but it's not passivity. They're not trying to get out of something. They're doing something to you. So they suggest, step one.
Get out of my head.
Identify it right. Step two is, well, step one is to, they're not steps.
Do not misdiagnose.
Point one is do not misdiagnose. And here's how you can know you're misdiagnosing.
Okay.
So this is what's important. Deal with passive aggressive in one way, but deal with covert aggression in another. How do you know if someone's being covertly aggressive?
How that?
Do they feign innocence and ignorance or confusion? I don't know. I didn't know that's what was. You confront them with something. And they're like, oh, no. You totally misunderstood. I didn't know that's what I was doing. Right? They do something very deliberate, and then they try to back out with this attitude that I didn't know that's what I was actually doing.
Okay.
The tactic is designed you to question your judgment and possibly your own sanity.
Let me just tell you, like, I'm such a good person. I'm thinking about myself if I do this.
Oh, this is a good way to look at it. Are you
Right.
Are you covert aggressive?
Right. Maybe that's just me being selfish. I can
No,
only think about myself.
Let's start there. Your self improvement is: are you being covertly aggressive? And Tracy
Yeah.
can say, does she have people in her life that are like this? So, one, do you feign ignorance and innocence or confusion?
No, mine is like true ignorance.
Number two, sign that someone's being covertly aggressive. Do they use diversion and evasion? Meaning never giving a straight answer to questions and always changing the subject when they're cornered? I mean, this is all going to sound like Donald Trump in a minute. You're going to hear that like, oh, what about this? Or what about that? Well, I know I did that, but you did. That's a whole other thing. When they're being aggressive, trying to get you to do something, they become these sheep in others' clothing kind of tone. Number three, do they lie? Do you see the signs of lying? And they're not always the sort of clear, black and white, straight up, straight kind of lies. They could also be omission or distortion. Do you feel like you're the one that's getting all turned around? And then does it turn to charm and anger simultaneously?
Ooh.
Woo, 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 huh. Woo, 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 huh. Woo, 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 huh. That thing that's going on. Boy, it's starting to sound really familiar. And then do they play the victim themselves? Well, I don't know why you're attacking me like this. I don't know why you've done this. This is covert aggression. I think I might be guilty of this. And then rationalization and minimization.
Yeah.
They want you to believe that they're a decent person. And that you're the one that's standing in their way. And number 7, do they use guilt tripping and shaming on you?
Boy, that's a ball of nasty right there.
And the answer to what you do about all this?
Yeah.
Drink more water and stay hydrated.
Okay, listen, Doug. I don't know what you did. I don't know what you said. I don't know what kind of emergent church spell you cast on me.
But it worked.
But like, I think about my water intake all of the freaking time.
Because of your snoring and your lack of concentration.
Yeah,
and you're
and,
constantly feeling hungry and not
waking
sleeping
up
well at night.
tired, and yes.
Yeah, drink more water. It's it was last week's life tip, and it was classic covert aggression.
Hey, Doug,
Just to blame you. Yeah.
there's hear the story of Olga Krudo?
No.
Yeah, she's this Russian lady who was vacationing in Rethmo, Crete. And you know it's just about Crete.
I do. I know a lot about Crete.
Hey, you can't trust them.
It's in the Bible.
That's what Paul says.
Yep. Can't trust the Cretians.
Anyway, she was going to take a late night, not a late night, but a later evening swim in the ocean. Okay. And so she gets on her little water
where this is
raft
going.
and falls asleep.
Oh my goodness.
Drifts out to sea,
Oh my goodness.
like up to 9 miles.
This is a sound sleeper if you can fall asleep on a raft.
Well, we don't know when she woke up, but 21 hours overnight on this raft,
My goodness.
and was eventually found after she didn't, report for breakfast in the morning. And they said, well, the last we saw her, she was out sleeping or out on the ocean. And so they alerted the people who fish for immigrants, and they found her. But, and she was an immigrant. She's a vacationing Russian. But, So, but she was extraordinarily sunburned.
I would imagine.
And was having some heart issues, I imagine, from dehydration.
See, there it is. There it is. She should drink more water. She's probably well hydrated, and that's why she slept so well that
What's
night.
the worst you've ever been sunburned, Doug?
Oh, when I was younger, my face and shoulders have been sunburned really, really, bubbly, like,
Blisters
pussy
and-
blisters.
yeah.
Pussy blisters. Yeah, and real damage to my skin. I'm paying for it to these very days. Part of why
Peeling
I have
off
to wear a hat.
sheets of
Oh
dead
yeah.
skin.
Oh
afterwards.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really terrible. Just like what level of self punishment do you do? Well, John, another good morning. We really pushed the boundaries of morning, but I do want to give a. It's
really
2:00. I do want to give a shout out to everybody who's gathering around the country here in Minnesota. They're going to be gathering in another hour down in Minneapolis, part of the Keep Families Together. They've been in Washington, D.C. I think millions of people in rallies all around the country who are saying that no matter where you are, John, on the immigration issue, what you don't want, whether you think we should have more immigrants or less, and we should definitely have more, but if whatever position you take on that, you don't want your government splitting families.
Yeah.
Wherever you are on taxes, whether you think we pay too many or the wrong people don't pay enough, what you don't want is your government using its money to separate children from their parents and putting kids in cages.
Yeah.
This is beyond the typical partisan divide. We're into something wholly other here, and it comes out of a incompetent, cruel, hubris attitude of incompetence
And
from
it's
the presidential administration that trickles down through the entire system and all the agencies. This is the thing about people saying, well, how much power can Donald Trump have? Why do you be on Donald Trump? It's because he's the president. And that role, it affects so many millions of other people by these decisions that are being made, they're being made out of incompetence, cruelty, and hubris.
and not to poop on your people,
Thank you.
but it's a shame that having all of this influence, that the evangelical church couldn't wield that for good and actually support
For the kids.
Morality rather than this kind of perverted, American religion.
Well, what it should show, we should do a whole show on this, but what it ought to show religious conservatives is that their opinion on topics is not what Trump responds to. Trump responds to their opinion on topics when he wants it for his benefit. He uses them. Evangelicals and other religious conservatives have been fighting and pushing against this administration's immigration policy from the start. The National Association of Evangelicals, the largest evangelical cluster of individuals and leaders, is for full immigration and against the policies. He doesn't care. He uses them when he wants to use them and then disposes of them when they want. So the fact that they are pushing, but it's not doing any good, should be the indicator that you're not actually on the inside. You don't have the influence you thought you had. You're being used by the administration. So come into the light. It's an act of repentance to religious people. We have language for this in religion. You change your way. You change your mind. You turn your direction. You repent, and you have a renewing of your mind to be freed from the pattern of the Republican-dominated world that they've put in front of you. VoteCommonGood.com. That's awesome.
Well, that was supposed to be the closing.
It was, but it's Aaron Neville, and it's a great song called Louisiana 1937 in my playlist. Hey, everybody, thanks for paying any attention to this. Thanks for doing all the good things you do in the world, because it really, really matters. And it's going to take all of us, all hands on deck, all of the above. Can't turn on each other.
Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, John.
What has happened down here?
Oh, that's sweet music. Hear that?
Yeah.
Listen to that. Hi. Okay, ended a little early. All right. Hey, podcasters, your little special extra bonus. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it?
That's your special extra bonus. Thanks.
You get an extra thank you.
I've got Airbnb people coming today. I got to go get the house ready.
What?
Yeah. We take in the Airbnbers. Why? I don't know, John.
Doug, like...
but this was a long cast today. We cast a long line today. Hour 15 minutes.
Oh.
Like if you use this for your exercise workout and you're still working out, good for you. Keep going. Give it another 10. Give it another 10. If you listen to this on your exercise workout and you had to break it up into 2 or 3.
Hey, I was on this antibiotic for a while, Doug. And because I can't take some antibiotics, so they gave me this one, and it's like it's instant diarrhea. I mean, it's like absolute diarrhea. But now that I'm on the Tylenol 3 with codeine, that will act as a natural constipator. So it'll just kind of equal itself out.
Oh, John, you are crossing the Rubicon into that thing that old people are like, I have to make sure that my new medication doesn't interfere with my current medication because...
I'm here. I'm there.
Good night, John.
Good night.